Hi everyone. As part of this problem, we have the input table as student DET. So as we see, the columns from this table are student, that is the name of the students, physics, that is the marks of students in the physics subject, chemistry, which is the marks of the student in chemistry subject, and maths, that is the marks of the student in the maths subject. So every entry gives the name of the student along with the marks in their respective subject. As part of the output, we need to do the unpivoting, wherein for every student, we need to get the name of the subject as a new column. So whatever we are seeing here, the column names were physics, chemistry, and maths. Now we need to get that in the form of rows. So whenever we convert the column name into the rows, we call it as unpivoting. And whatever is the value corresponding to the name of the student and subject, that we need to get in the marks column. So this is what we need to achieve. We need to break this into respective rows for each of the subject. So let's go ahead and solve this problem. We are going to follow two approaches to reach to the solution. So let's get started with the first approach. So what we will do here is we will work on this input table, that is student DET. And here we will get the name of the student, and then what we will do is, let's say we are getting the marks for physics. We will call this table as marks. So if we run only this part, what will be the behavior? So the behavior will be, for every student, we have got the marks for physics and we have named the column as marks. And here we can add a hard-coded column. So let's give the hard-coded value as physics and call it as subject. So whenever we give a hard-coded value, that will be consistent, or that value will hold across all the records. So let's run and see the output. So as we can see, for the marks in the physics subject, we have named the column as marks by using the alias, and then we have provided a hard-coded value for the subject. So on similar lines, we can do it for the other subjects as well. That is for chemistry and then for maths. So let's quickly do that. Okay, let's run and see the output. So this is our input table, and we have broken down this table into 3 tables corresponding to each of the subject. So now we have marks for the student in physics subject broken down into different rows. Similarly, for chemistry, we have broken down it into different rows. So this way we have broken down this table into 3 parts. So we are now nearing to the solution. We have got the records in the required format, but what we need to do is we need to club them together because we need to get a single output table. So in order to club them, we will use union all. So here, instead of having them as separate table, let's mention union all clause here and try to combine all the data into one. Let's run and see the output. So now as we can see, for every student, we have got the marks broken down into separate rows. And this is what we were looking for. The only part that is pending is we need to order this data based on the student followed by the subject, so that for a student, all the entries are present together. So for that, at the end, we will mention the order by clause. The order by clause will be applied to all the result. Like after the union is done, after that, this ordering will be applied. So let's order it based on the student followed by the subject. So let's run and see the output. So now if we see the output, for every student, we have all their entries together as we have sorted it based on the student followed by the subject. So we have got the required output. So by sorting, we have achieved the rows in the way we wanted. So this is the first approach that we have used to solve this problem. Okay, so now let's move on to the second approach. So hope this is clear of how we have achieved. Now we will move to the second approach, wherein we are going to use the unpivot. So just focus on unpivot, how we can achieve it. Or for solving the second approach, let's move this into a new tab, and we will solve the problem here. Okay. So we are going to use the approach 2, that is unpivot. So let's do it here. Okay. So whenever we have to do unpivot, we will break the problem into 2 parts. Okay. So first will be the normal table. What is the table that we are targeting? So we are targeting the student DET table, and we will specify what all the columns we want. So we want all these columns, that is students, physics, chemistry, and maths. So all this we will specify, all the columns we will specify. So if I just run this part, we will get the same table as it is. So this we will call as the base table. Okay, so this is the first part when we are doing unpivot. After doing this, we will add the unpivot keyword. And now we will focus on the second part. So second part is breaking these columns into rows. Okay, so what we will do is, when we are breaking the columns into rows, we have to specify what is the new column name. Okay, like if I want this physics, chemistry, and maths to be part of a record, what will be the name of that column? So let's say we are giving the name as subject, and then we will specify what are those columns that we are breaking into rows. Okay, so this is physics, chemistry, maths. So the physics, chemistry, maths columns will now be moving as values in the subject column. Okay, so this is one thing. The next thing in unpivot is, what about these values? So when this column names will move into the rows, what about these values? In which column they will be moving? So that we have to specify here. So let's specify that as marks. So this completes the second part, and let's call this table as unpivot table. So what we have done here as the first part, we have specified what is the original table. And in the second part, we have specified which are the columns which we need to move as part of the rows, and what will be that column name in which it will be moving as part of rows. So that we have specified here. And regarding the values, we have specified a separate column name where these values will move into. So this is the second part. Now what we will do is, we will select the data. So what columns we are going to select? First thing is, we want the student. And these 3 columns will be irrelevant for us because we are already moving it to the subject column. So we will move the subject column here. And finally, we will have the marks column. So these are the 3 columns that we will have as part of the output. So let's try to run and see the output. So as we see, we have got the data in the required way. That is, for every student, we have broken down the data into separate subjects. The only thing that is pending is getting the data in the proper ordering. So we can order it based on the student followed by the subject. So this way the ordering will happen. So now this is the final output that we have obtained using the second approach, that is unpivoting. So if you focus on part 1 and part 2, unpivoting becomes very simple. Otherwise, generally we miss on the syntax as to how to go ahead and do unpivoting. Okay, so this way we have solved the problem using approach 2. So let's do a quick summary of what we have done to reach to the solution. So the requirement was to break these marks into separate rows. And for that, we used 2 approaches. In approach 1, we used union all. So what we did is, for every student, we got the particular subject with alias as marks. So we broken down it into 2 columns, that is student and marks. After that, we have used the hard-coded value of the subject name and call that as subject. So this way we created 3 tables for each of the subject. And since we required the output in a single table, we used union all to merge all this data into single output. Finally, on all this data, we have done the ordering to get the data in the required order, that is the student name followed by the subject. So that for every student, all the entries are together sorted as per the subject name. So this was the first approach that we used to solve the problem. And talking about the second approach, so in the second approach, we used unpivoting. So here, as we discussed, we break the problem into 2 parts. The first part is getting the base table. That is, what is the table on which we are working? We have specified all the required columns from the table name. So that is our base table. After that, we have specified what are the column names that we want to move as part of the rows. So that we have specified here, and then we have specified the column name to which these rows will be moved to, like these columns will be moved to rows in which column. So that we have specified after the for clause. Finally, whatever data that we have, to which column that should go to. So that we have specified here as marks column. So this was the part 2 that we have specified. So once we have done this, we have specified what are the columns that we are looking for. Finally, we have sorted the data based on the student and subject to get the output in the desired format. So this way we have solved the problem. So please go through the video. If you found it useful, please like it. If you have not yet subscribed the channel, please subscribe and please add your feedback in the comments. Thank you.